Teaching an ELA elective that you've dreamed up yourself is such a joy. Today, I want to stir up some ideas together for the next time you've got the chance to put your own spin on an older course or propose a new course altogether. So let's start with a few questions. Would you rather take a class called Theater or Contemporary Theater, The Triumphs of Hamilton and Wicked? Creative Writing or Writing for Change Across Platforms? Film and Literature or How the Oscars Got It Wrong? Argument Writing or How to Get What You Want with Your Writing? Digital Literacy or Understanding Spin, How the Sites You Choose Impact What You Believe? While many schools continue to run electives like creative writing and poetry, which are often wonderful courses, I think it's time for a shift in our framing. Writing is everywhere today, playing a vital role in our politics, our science, our businesses, our media creation and consumption, our entertainment, and our understanding of the world. To help our students see that, we can tap into modern platforms and media to hook our students, teaching similar key skills, like we always have, and similar texts in a new context alongside more contemporary voices with a little more of a look at contemporary platforms. Welcome to the Spark Creativity Teacher Podcast, a podcast for English teachers looking for more creativity, more engagement, more joy, and no more scripted curriculum, lesson planning ruts, or boring book lists. I'm Betsy Potash, and I'm honored you're trusting me to help. You're not alone on this creative journey anymore. So today I want to do some brainstorming together. I am going to propose the kind of nut of 4 different possible electives, and I'm not going to get really deep into what these electives would look like with the blow-by-blow of the units and the projects and the essential questions. The goal here for me in this conversation with you is just to kind of share ideas that will get you thinking about ways that you might frame electives in slightly different, exciting ways that might build in more relevance for students. It might build in just kind of new angles for students and help draw more of them into these electives. So again, it's not like the syllabus. It's just like a fun brainstorming session. Hearing these may make you want to teach these specific courses, or it may just kind of push you in a new direction with some electives that you already teach or some electives that you're dreaming about. So my very first idea that I want to propose is an elective about writing across platforms to change minds. For me, this idea is very close to my heart, I guess, because it's kind of what I do for a living, and I see a lot of people doing it for a living. And I really think there's so much to talk about there, and it's a unique angle on argument, really, and on multimedia creation. There are a lot of different ways you could teach a course like this. I think if I was doing it, I would plan it platform by platform. I would look at models of people creating effectively with their work to help influence people on different types of platforms. I would invite students to find models that they find meaningful, where they're learning things, they're being influenced by people online. And then I would work with students on creating, editing, and sharing work based on the platform. I would think I would want to start with a unit on digital literacy and creating responsibly. And so there would definitely be a focus there. It's not just about trying to influence people to do whatever, however it occurs to you to influence them. It's about how do you create responsible work in whatever medium. How do you research it? How do you share it in a way that doesn't plagiarize? How do you use the strategies available to you to try to make an impact. And then I would hope to spend time researching issues with students that they would like to center their work on throughout the team. Throughout the term. What type of change are they looking to create in the world? Maybe it's some issue at your school, some issue at your community, some national or international issue that they're passionate about. And then that issue can become their guiding star as we work through different mediums. And then I imagine going through units on persuading people of things by email, pitching ideas by email, writing opinion pieces, whether it's like blog posts or newspaper posts, or then the next thing, social posts. Maybe we'd look at mini documentaries and how people try to change minds through short film. We might look at performance poetry. How are people trying to create change on the stage with the mic? Similarly, we might look at podcasts. How are people trying to persuade and have influence and change minds about issues through podcasts? There are so many different ways you could go with this. You're probably not going to be able to cover all of this in a semester. But I think it's really exciting to think about. If our students are looking for relevance, if they're looking to really think about their place in the world and how they can use their voice on the issues that really matter to them, I feel like creating a course that's all about that, using the mediums that they're consuming and that they're excited about, is like a very exciting opportunity to teach the skills of argument and research and responsible creation in a context that just feels relevant, that feels on the spot for our students. Okay. Next, I wanted to pitch the idea of a dystopia class, reading, writing, and debating dystopia. And again, I want to use this not so much as a lens of just studying the genre of dystopia, but talking about influence in writing and how dystopia provides a powerful medium for influence. You might have heard me talk about this before. It's something that I find really fascinating and have ever since I taught 1984 in Bulgaria. So I'm imagining an elective like this could blend classic texts. If you're using this basis for a course for younger students, maybe you're going to focus on like The Giver. If you're with older students, maybe parts of 1984 and Fahrenheit 451. You want to have like a few common texts or parts of common texts, and then probably also some book clubs, some choice reading where students are getting to explore modern dystopia. And so again, just like in the other course, I would want to be considering like, what tools do we have right now to help influence people, to help change minds through published work? What tools do writers have to change minds? And how is dystopia one of those tools? Along the way, I would want students to be considering questions like, why is dystopia so popular right now? What does that mean? How does dystopia wield influence over people? How are dystopia and propaganda different or the same? What makes dystopia effective in influencing people versus just sort of random entertainment? I think it would be a lot of fun along the way to build in creation. So again, students are thinking about issues that matter to them and how they can share their ideas around those issues with the world. So they can create short dystopian pieces of their own. Maybe it's going to be like a dystopian graphic short story or graphic novella, or maybe it's going to be a dystopian poem or performance poem. Maybe it's going to be a dystopian story, or maybe you're going to go full bore like NaNoWriMo it and have them actually write dystopian novels. But the idea would be you're talking about the potential for influence in dystopia, and you're also using dystopia in the creative sphere to try to wield influence for the students. Okay, next up, I want to propose the idea of putting a bit of a future job spin on the writing process and teach an elective like Writing success for small businesses and nonprofits. I am thinking right now about all the ways that 17, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds could be plugging into summer jobs, internships, jobs in college where they're creating social media, writing press releases, writing pitches, writing grant proposals for small businesses and nonprofits. There's such a huge field out there for that. And I think students are uniquely positioned to step in and be like, hey, I can help you market your business on TikTok, or hey, I can help you with XYZ because it's really my generation that's leading the way on these platforms. And so I think it would be quite fascinating to run a course around this for students. Writing is a core part of so many jobs. I mean, in small business and nonprofit for sure, but really across just every industry, I want to say. So I think this elective could just explore all of these many ways that writing plugs into so many jobs. It could be press releases, grant applications, media pitches, social media posts, effective emails, website design, blog posts, podcasts. Like all these things are part of the business machine for so many different brands and nonprofits. So I think this could be really interesting. You could dive into case studies. You could look at accounts and websites and brands that are doing really interesting things with their writing, with their design. I'm thinking of just a couple of random examples in my own life. I've always been really interested in the nonprofit Illuminative. They run an impressive website with a lot of wonderful resources. They also have multiple podcasts, a very well-designed social media presence, an email newsletter, etc. And these are really all writing based. I mean, the main way, if I'm looking at all their different parts of their nonprofit machine, the main way they're getting in front of people is with their writing and their complementary visuals. And so just looking at the impact that nonprofit can have by hosting podcasts, by sharing extensive written resources online, by running a really great Instagram, it's very interesting, in my opinion, for students to see. And I think after you look at some case studies and maybe you invite students to sort of draw the class's attention to creators and nonprofits and businesses that they find really interesting, then you could let students have time to think about, what kind of nonprofit would they want to run, or what kind of business would they want to start, and what would the messaging be like, and how could they write to create impact around it? What would their website be like? What would their social media be like? One of the most popular projects that I've ever designed for teachers is the Food Truck Festival project, where students imagine the branding, the menu, the social media, the just everything for a literary food truck. And that's such a fun project, and it gets at a lot of wonderful things with argument and characterization. But in this case, students could actually be doing it for a business of their dreams. Maybe it would be a food truck, probably not, but whatever they kind of imagine for themselves out there in whatever field or industry, if they imagine how they might like to make an impact, it's just planting a seed and practicing their writing in a context that is potentially so meaningful for them for later in their life. Okay, last but not least, I wanted to talk a little bit about the idea of framing a theater elective through some of the most popular smash hit musicals of our recent era. So if you're looking to create a theater elective that's going to focus on just about any aspect of theater, I feel like you could frame it as it begins through either Wicked or Hamilton. And there would be so much there to talk about as a way of kind of hooking students, because these have been just such incredible smash hits. And if you think about, as I'm sure you already have, I mean, Hamilton, Pulitzer Prize winning play, as well as just this revolutionary idea of taking history and translating it into hip hop on the stage. Or if you think about Wicked and how it took a book and rewrote it from the most marginalized character perspective, right? I mean, the Wicked Witch of the West just has no personality, has no character in The Wizard of Oz, just evil, then dies. And here you find this entire backstory, all of these things that were going on in her life, all these completely different motivations than what were understood in the original book. And it's really a pretty fascinating exercise, right? That could lead to a lot of really great writing projects. And the fact that it has become, an absolute sensation that everyone is humming under their breath doesn't hurt, and helping hook students on talking about it, discussing it, thinking about it from a critical perspective, and maybe writing and creating based on it. So whatever you want to teach, whether it's on-stage performance, set design, music, costume design, literary analysis, or all of the above, I feel like you could certainly do it starting with Wicked and Hamilton and then reaching back to whatever theater you're interested in teaching. But it just gets back to this idea of that slight twist, that slight reframe, that if we can take our wonderful elements of our discipline and the things we really want to teach students that we know are so powerful for them, and if we can frame them inside the lives that they're leading and the things that they're worrying about and the futures that they imagine for themselves, it can just really help them to become excited about these electives. Now, I've just kind of brainstormed with you about 4. That's very much the tip of the iceberg. It'd be fun to keep going. I like the idea of finding a spin for the rise of the graphic novel, for novels in verse and performance poetry, for the American dream as told by people besides F. Scott Fitzgerald, for what research is like now, 20 years after the research process was kind of defined as being all about the card catalog and the index card. How has that changed, and what does that mean? Just, there are so many ways to approach electives. I get super excited about it. I could probably do 20 podcasts on this topic, just brainstorming ideas, because really it's just so much fun. But I'm going to leave it here for now. I know you have tons of ideas of your own. My main goal here is just to shout out this idea of a rebrand and a reframe. STEM may have 3D printers and laser cutters, but we here in ELA have got the process through which every mind throughout history has been shaped and changed. And we know that that's a pretty big deal. Thanks so much for joining me today for this contemporary ELA elective brainstorming session. Until next time, take care of yourself and stay creative.